concerned. And although I'm going to do the review that, which I did a while back, and I didn't do it all, that book I was reading by Ken Bailey, who was a missionary in the Middle East, how we have the Christmas story all messed up, how it really probably really happened, more likely than what Western tradition has made it out to be. So I'll really depress you, because it's like, so everything we celebrate, not everything we celebrate, but everything we include in it isn't right. Well, no, probably not. Or it's kind of wrong slightly. So I'll do that for a part of the Bible class next Sunday. It won't take the whole time to do it. But I was fascinated by it, and it's one of those how when you actually understand how things really work, you may think, well, that kind of just ruined my Christmas, but really it's meant to enhance your Christmas, because it's make it to more what it really is, really did happen, and what really was like for Joseph and Mary and Jesus. All right, so we'll do that next Sunday in Bible class. So if you can be here, you want to be in Bible class next Sunday. All right, but for now we're on Proverbs 22. Verse 22, right? Yeah, verse 22. 22. That's where we're at. Okay, we mentioned how we have new sayings here that Solomon is using as scripture here, but they're not sayings that he has had spoken. All right, so some of these are like 2 verses long, and some of them are 1 verse, but we'll just see that as we go through it. All right, do not exploit the poor because they are poor, and do not crush the needy in court, for the Lord will take up their case and will plunder those who plunder them. All right, we've had passages before about taking advantage of the poor. This is another one. Why do people do that? They're weak and easy prey, all right? You don't get a whole lot out of them, you get something out of them. Squeeze whatever you can out of them, but that's why people do it, because it's easy to do it. And it's just a true bully thing. And the bully can't stand up to someone equal to him. The bully has to pick on someone scrawnier than he. Okay, if you want a good biblical illustration of when this truly happened, just read Obadiah's prophecy. It will take you a minute and a half to read it. It's only 1 chapter. But read Obadiah's prophecy, because Obadiah is talking about that. He's talking about how when Israel was being attacked, or it might have been Judah, being attacked, the Judeans then fled, and there has been being attacked from the west, so they fled naturally to the east, like refugees would, flee, and they ran into Edom. What's the relationship between Edom and Judah? Historically, though, what it should be. They're literally cousins. Yeah, they're cousins, okay, but they hate each other. But they're literally cousins, so they should be watching out for each other, okay? Because Edom is from Esau and Jacob and Esau, okay? All right, so when the Israelites or the Judeans fled to Edom, the Edomites were waiting for them. Not to welcome them with open arms, but to plunder them, exploit them, enslave them, and do horrible things to them. Okay, and then, so if you read Obadiah's prophecy, the statement, which is true here, where in verse 23, the Lord will take up their case, that's the line that says, as you have done, it will be done unto you. What goes around comes around. God says, you've done this to my people, I'm going to do it to you. And then sure enough, when Babylon finally came down and conquered the Edomites, they just wiped them out. Although King Herod's an Edomian, he's an Edomite. Okay. Okay. Uh-huh.
Exploiting the poor. I don't think you exploit them for money. You use them. You use them
Okay, yeah.
You use them you stir up
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, or you make them you enslave them. Yeah, right. The illegal immigrants that you hire, that the rich people hire. Yeah, that's a good point, too. Yeah, right. It's not taking them to court necessarily, but it's actually using them for your own advantage. Right. That's a good illustration, how that's often done, too. All right, so that was pretty common. Do you have any more on that one? We've done this one like this so many times. I thought we'd just move on. Do not make friends. Okay, read it now. As I read this one, note how Solomon is explaining this. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered man. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn his ways and get yourself ensnared. Because we've had others before about, don't have anything to do with hot-tempered people. But why? In this case, why does he say that? You'll become like him. Yeah, you'll mimic him. And that is often the case. If you see kids that get caught up with the wrong group, and they start, there's a kind of a bully in that group, and the bully is kind of mean and hot-tempered like this, and they're kind of passive and mild normally, they start acquiring that behavior. So, bad company corrupts good character, right? That's I was trying to think, in 1 Corinthians 15, bad company corrupts good character. So don't have bad company. So you're not invited in my house. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So that's what you've never been in my house, but you're not invited. Now you know why, right? Bad company corrupts good character. All right. So there's that one. So that a lot of these, to me, as I'm reading these, it's like, we're in chapter 22. It's like, how many times do you have to repeat yourself? You're saying the same Proverbs basically in the same way, and yet it's still there, so we need to look at it because it is God's word. But why is he? I really don't know why he keeps repeating himself, or basically saying the Proverbs with just slight changes to it.
Well, in some cultures, that's just how you do it.
It is in some culture. Okay.
Some cultures, because where we live, you listen to the same thing, they go through it 3 times before they were done.
Really? Okay. Okay, because how many times does it take to hear something before you finally learn it? Is what they say? 7 times? Men or women? Yeah, right. 2 or 3 witnesses, right? Okay, so yeah, I have that. Okay, so that it can be a cultural thing then, right? That's a good point, that how cultures do that. If they're not particularly literate cultures, but oral, thank you. I couldn't think of the alternate. The oral culture, you have to keep reciting it. And our members over in the Houston church with missionaries in Papua New Guinea, they said the same thing. That it was all about the oral tradition that's passed down. And when someone would share it, even though everyone else has heard it so many times, they listen very intently. And they listen intently because they're listening if you make a mistake. Because if you get it wrong, one part wrong, they correct you. but because that's their oral tradition, you can't lose it. And if it gets switched one way, like has happened with the Christmas story, if it gets switched slightly and then that becomes the new way of doing it, then your tradition is lost. Okay? And unless someone has written it down, it's lost forever. Okay? So so that's a good reason why Solomon repeats things quite a few times. Oh, that's true too. To get from short term to long term, yeah.
That's the reason for the drills that instructors do for.
Yeah, well, and every little thing, like I know in sports we did it, but also in music. And if you're doing piano lessons, do your scales over and over. Or if you're any instrument, you do your scales over and over and over, right? And with education, it's the same way, right? We teach kids ABCs over and over.
When you use your hands, whether it's in sports or musical instruments, that's muscle memory, but you have the same thing to go through your brain.
Yes.
Idea memory.
Yes. And it does work.
And it's got to go through a bunch of times.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I know that when I'm trying to play the violin, your fingers go to where they're supposed to go. You don't even have to tell them. And I'm assuming, I don't play piano, I'm assuming that's how it is with the piano. So that's why so many blind people can play a piano so well. They don't have to see anything. They know their hands go right there. That's what I'm assuming. Does anybody know anything about that? I mean, I just assume that's how it works. You just go there because you've done it so often. All right, so didn't explain that proverb, explain why the proverbs are so repetitious. All right, the next one we're not even going to do because we've done it so many times. Do not be a man who strikes hands in pledge or puts up security for debts. If you lack the means to pay, pay. I couldn't see that word. My eyes weren't. Your very bed will be snatched from under you. I just thought, very bed. Why did it say? I didn't see. Okay, your very bed. All right, we've done that one before. Don't be careful with your business deals. Don't try to get caught up in these get rich quick schemes where you put up security and then you lose it. Yeah, don't co-sign. Yeah, don't co-sign those loans. Well, yeah, unless you just don't mind. I mean, if you don't care that you don't that you might lose it, right? Yeah, but plan on losing it. Yeah, right. But and so we've done this, right? We've done this proverb probably a handful of times, and it is obviously these are all true. There's nothing wrong about any of these proverbs. The next one is one we're not even going to do either because do not move an ancient boundary stone set up by your forefathers. Because if you jump on NIV, what I have here, look at the column on the next page, which is verse 10. Do not move an ancient boundary stone. You got the same proverb again, but in that one, it says it in more detail. So we're just going to wait till we get to verse 10 in the next chapter and look at it because it's the same proverb with more information. Okay, and it is a good one. We actually have seen this one before, but this is another one worth highlighting. All right, so we'll wait till verse 10 of chapter 23. Okay, verse 29. Do you see, now this is a new one. Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will serve before kings. He will not serve before obscure men. All right, what is so cool about this one is what enables a skilled man to get promoted? Okay, what does not enable him? Well, okay, that's true too. Okay, some people maybe aren't quite so skilled and they know it. How do they get promoted? They talk themselves up, right? Obsequious comes. There we go. That word now, right? You got to bring it back in. Exactly. They know how to promote themselves, but their work doesn't back up there. And eventually they get caught. Yeah, it's discovered you're not who you said you were. Your resume said this because this is what you said on your resume, but we've seen your work and it doesn't match. So that's what's so cool about this one. You don't have to be tooting your own horn. You don't have to promote yourself necessarily. Just let your work speak for itself. That's kind of the line, right? Your resume is, this is my resume. Look at what I've done. Okay, and that will speak for itself. They promote because they're so bad, right? So they get so bad that they look bad and they can get fired because. Well, the supervisors talk them up to another supervisor. Oh, pass them on to somebody else. Sadly, pastors have been passed along too, by the way. Some pastors have been passed along by one district president to another one. Yeah, so, but so you understand the gist of this. And that's how it should always be. Your body of work will speak for itself, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to promote yourself. Right, or someone else can promote you, but hopefully they're being honest about you, and they'll point to what you've done.
I think that it's pretty self-evident because when you need a job done, the really truly skilled people are so booked up you can't get them.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you can tell who's the good ones because they're always booked. All right, yeah, right. And then the guy's just twiddling his thumb looking for work.
Now, there are some that I know that are professions that are artificially booking up to make themselves look good.
Oh, okay.
Eventually that gets caught.
Yeah, right. I get caught too. Well, okay, and isn't this why nowadays on people rate online the stars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I mean, put a star on if you guys with your business, you know that, you guys do too. You know that the people will rate you. Oh yeah. Yeah, and people look at the ratings often. It can be a bad thing though, because it can be a dishonest thing, right? Hateful, vindictive.
People puff up the ratings too.
Oh, they do?
The businesses will get people to.
Oh, okay.
Your relatives.
Yeah, well, your relatives or employees. Yeah, okay, all right. So, but people do look at the ratings, though, right? Yeah.
I bought something the other day for $15, and when it came in the mail, it said if you leave a 5-star review, we'll give you a $20 gift card. And so I put the review. I'm putting 5 stars. I have no idea if this thing works, but they said they give me $20.
Yeah.
And then some high up somewhere said you can't get paid for your review.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay, you got the gist of this.
We do it the other way though. You give us a 1-star review, don't you come in here thinking you're
You steal from them.
You give them shoddy work, right?
We'll just nip every third stitch.
We've had people who come in and given us bad reviews, and then they tell all their friends to do a bad review on us, even people we haven't seen in the shop.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh.
Hand one time. We just ask everybody who was coming in,
Yeah, yeah.
still give us a good review.
Yeah. Recover that. Yeah, right. Wow. All right. So that was I thought that proverb was a very excellent proverb to just basically remind us: don't go tooting your own horn, promoting yourselves. Just do your job well, and then that's all you need to do. Do your job well. All right. Okay. Now chapter 23. Oh, this to me this is another classic one. It's 3 verses long. When you sit to dine with the ruler, note well what is before you, and put a knife to your throat if you are given to gluttony. Do not crave his delicacies, for that food is deceptive. You want to try to figure out this one? It's not hard. What is Solomon getting at? Do you know? The gist of what? Of what?
If I provide you this food, then you're going to do it.
Yeah, okay.
Quid pro quo.
Very good. Quid pro quo. Right. But it comes from someone, in this case, the king. It can be someone really high up. Okay. It's the mafia boss guy. This is how I see it. The mafia boss. Yeah. You need help? What do you need? What do you need? I'll give it to you. What do you need? The sky's the limit. What do you need? Whatever you need, I'll give it to you because your business is going down. Okay, I'll loan it out to you. Whatever you need. And we all know how that works, right? The stereotypical mafia scene. Okay, and so you take it, and now you're indebted to him for the rest of your life for far more than he gave you. And if you don't pay, you know what happens.
The gluttony of it, because you're used to, you want that now all the time.
Exactly. And yeah, and you know he's being generous under false pretenses. Right? He's really wanting to do this for you, but not because he's just generally kind and giving, but because he has an ulterior motive of I'm going to want something back from you someday. And so the idea when he says put a knife to your throat, he says if you're given to gluttony, just in other words, be very, very cautious when someone does something like that. Yeah, sure you can eat with them, but do not go to an excess to the point that the person notices you've done that and now says, oh, okay, obviously you really like me, so maybe now I'm going to get you.
I see the gluttony is, okay, so you sit down and you've had these fine foods.
Yeah, right.
So now you're going to want to go back for more.
You want to keep coming, yeah, okay, yeah.
So you're just going to dig your hole.
Yeah. So you become addicted almost to that person, yeah, and you just kind of, yeah, right.
It's the spoils of life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So this, like I said, this is a really good proverb because this is one that people will often do. And I just, again, think of it the way you see about the mafia kind of thing going on. Okay.
I think all the way down to verse 8 is all talking about the same thing.
It is.
Don't let yourself become enslaved
Yeah.
because of your greed.
See, yeah, and actually, when you say that how all these proverbs for quite a few are somewhat similar, and it's true because, and then what this commentary is pointing out, when you look at these proverbs, when it says that these proverbs were not written by Solomon, but probably, or it seems to be maybe even from the Egyptian wise man, and thus an unbeliever, he's saying this is just general way of life in society. This is how people are in general. This isn't godly, ungodly people. This is how people act. And so if you're in the business world, this is how people are going to act, whether they're Christians or not. This is what people do. They'll use gifts. One thing here is they'll use gifts to gain more as opposed to be giving more. Okay? and in a way, would that be similar to your phones and your contracts? They'll give you these things, but now you're indebted to them for 3 years or whatever. Is that how that works? Okay, and that kind of saying, we'll give you all these gifts if you sign, and now you're signed up for us for 3 years. You can't change. If you break contract, you got to pay all this money. T-Mobile will pay for it for you. Okay. But am I right on that? Because I really don't do those things, so I don't know how it works. So, Yeah, it gets you, and then you're hooked. You're stuck. Yeah, and you can't get out of it unless you want to pay. Upgrade. Yeah. Or even the cable things. I remember us with cable. They give you all these free things. If you don't tell them you don't want them, then it's free for 3 months, and then suddenly they start charging you, and you didn't even realize it because you just paid the bill. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, so we just don't give me that. All right. So that's how that one works. Okay. The next one: do not wear yourself out to get rich. Have the wisdom to show restraint. And then the next verse goes with it. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle. All right. So what's this proverb speaking regarding wealth?
If you make money the most important thing in your life, you give up God, your family, your home.
Well, if you make money, you're God. If you make money, you're God, right? Then you give up everything else, including your own life. Yeah, right. So what's the positive to it? Yeah, instead of doing that, that's the negative. Don't do that. Instead do what? I mean, so in other words, twist this around to say, be content when you got enough. When you have what you need, don't think you need another dollar and work for the other dollar. When you have what you need, I have what I need. I don't need to do this anymore. I heard this guy on the radio talking about this. This was some proverb kind of thing like this about how, what was it? It's someone, it had to do with some, I don't know, I get it messed up, but it was saying, some rich tycoon in America was saying, saw this African man who was a fisherman, and the man fished during the morning, and then he took the rest of the day off to be with his family and all that, okay, because he got enough for the day, okay, and so the guy says, well, I know a better way, okay, fish all day and get more money, okay, so that you can now hire more people, okay, and then do that, and then he just kept building it up, and just keep doing this, and then doing more and more, and just do more and more, so that you can now have your own company, and then eventually you can just not work. He said, well, then why don't I just fish in the morning? Now, instead of waiting then, why don't I just fish in the morning, get what I need, and then live the rest of the day with my family, and not have to work the rest of the day then? Okay, and so he's like, why do I want to do that? Why do I want to work so hard to be so filthy rich that I can finally retire if I ever really decide to, when I can just do it now? In other words, be content that you got what you need. You don't have to basically kill yourself, and you don't have to deprive your family of your attention and just to get more. Okay? That's not an American mindset. That's why it's hard for Americans to think that way. But you see what he's getting at. That's what he's saying. Don't kill yourself for riches. It's not worth it. And it's not worth it for you. It's not worth it for your family. So just be content with what you got.
I don't think he's saying don't work hard.
No, he's not saying don't work hard.
I mean, you can work hard to provide a service or product to people.
Right.
That people can use and
Right.
need.
Yeah, definitely.
But just be satisfied with
Yeah.
what you get from that.
Right, just be content. Work, and actually, we are commanded many times because those are the ones against the sluggard. Work hard to get what you need, and then when you got it. Be content with what you have. So we have those kind of ones in there about doing that.
Don't work so hard that you forget about your family.
Yeah, so that it becomes your God. Yeah, it.
I knew a guy from
Uh-huh.
Emmanuel Lutheran, who's a cousin of mine. And this is years ago, it was probably almost 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He made the comment that he was a farmer, and he had hay down, had cut hay,
Uh-huh.
and it was ready to bale on the Sunday. And
On a Sunday,
I
yeah.
asked him why he wasn't baling hay, if he was going to bale hay today.
Uh-huh.
And he said, no, he said, I'm going to wait until
Mo-
tomorrow.
Monday.
He said, God's gift provided me with the hay, but he's also,
Yeah.
also commanded that
Yeah.
I worship.
And I'll be with him today. Yeah, that's good. Right. Because it's the line you hear when they I've heard before where they interview these billionaires and say, so looking back on your life, what's the best dollar you ever made or something like that? You know, and I've heard this before. I can't remember who said it. The line was the next dollar. It's like, you're a multi-billionaire and it's still not enough. You need one more dollar. You know, it's the Scrooge thing. You're never happy. You're just not content. So, yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah, and the athletes who contracts, exactly. How much do you need? You can't spend it anyway, and then become the target of other people as it is, because they want stuff from you. Or, you know, so let's just be content. You know, that's the first one of those. 1 Timothy 6:6-8. There, be content with what you have. Godliness with contentment is great gain. People want to get rich, fall into temptation and a trap. Okay, so don't be one of those who want to get rich. Yeah.
So Solomon was a wealthy man.
Right.
And God
Right.
gave him all his riches.
Right.
So, I mean, there are some people who...
It's not wrong to be rich, you know. We know that. We're all rich, you know, in America. But you're right. It's not wrong to be rich. The point, obviously, always here is where your heart is, there your treasure is. That's Jesus' line. And see, I was just going to get at. Solomon did not ask for the wealth. He asked for wisdom. And the wisdom got him riches. Well, actually, the wisdom got him riches because God said, since you asked for that, I'll give you riches. All right. Yeah, right. And by the way, it's good that you say that, because now that should compel you to go back and read Ecclesiastes. Because that's where Solomon says, okay, I made it my ambition to figure out basically what the meaning of life is. So I gave up, I did wine, women, and song, you know, that kind of thing. He says, I devoted myself to getting all the riches I could get. And see if that was it. He says, no, I didn't do it. You know, and then all the women and all the partying or whatever else. But he always says, and I always kept my mind with me, so it's not like he's a drunkard kind of thing. I think a lot of people miss that. He's actually doing this as an experiment to find out where fulfillment in life is. And he says it's meaningless, utterly meaningless. Everything's meaningless. The only thing you find contentment is, and it says it actually, look it up at the very... I think it's great because, where it is, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. What?
That doesn't seem like he's using his wisdom very well.
Well, I know, but you got to understand how he reads it. So, the very end, Ecclesiastes is the next book after Proverbs. Okay, so in the very end of his book, he says, the last two verses, now all has been said. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. So what is the conclusion? Fear God. That's it. And do his commandments. Fear God and live. Live life like he calls you to live.